You know, it's nearly 2 years to the day since I last tested an Aprilia RSV, and now we've got this one, the Mille R. What does the R stand for? Well, let's find out. The first thing is it feels very, very familiar. It's a big bike, but it's easy to get on with. It's like a big, friendly bear of a bike. They've made 200 modifications to the Mille range based on a couple of seasons of World Superbikes experience, but I'm pleased to say it still retained its excellent road manners. Well, I suppose the R could stand for ragged, because if you look at this tyre, see this ragged edge on here? This one's been used on a track day. Honest officer, not by me. But anyway, under there, you've got these Oz wheels. Now, you might not have come across these before, but they're Oz, OZ, depending what you call them, or even the Americans would say OZ, but that's what it says down there. The big difference is they're forged aluminium as against normal cast alloy wheels, and so it makes them extremely light, which aids the suspension travel and quickens up the steering, less gyroscopic effect. You've also got, and you can't miss this, World Superbike spec, or very nearly, Olin suspension, titanium nitride finish on there, giving that nice gold finish. Brembo gold line calipers, 320mm floating discs, all the trick bits that you'd expect on a top sports bike. And of course the obligatory bit of carbon fibre mudguard there. Coming up the fairing a little bit, you've also got these aren't just on the R, they're also on the new Mille as well, these little air deflectors, scoops there, but on this one of course they've got to be carbon fibre. There it is again. More carbon fibre down here on the side of the fairing on these air scoops. There's the fans there coming off the back of the radiator, carbon fibre. Coming up to the tank here, if you can hear that, see that very dead sound? This is in fact resin. The previous tank was in nylon, but they've changed it to resin. It's made it stronger, they've made it slightly bigger, and the important thing is it's lighter too. And I do like this nice matte finish to the whole thing. I think it looks pretty classy. Under there, and what you can't see, is Aprilia's 60-degree V-twin. Fuel injected, of course, but a bit more on that later. What they've also done, they've raised the engine just 5mm. You wouldn't think that'd make much difference, but it does. They've just lifted it up a touch, and they've altered the swing arm pivot. This is all part of the World Superbike experience, and the whole lot is all aimed at improving the handling. Now, are these changes noticeable? Yes, they are, but they're subtle, a sure sign that the Mille was pretty good straight out the box. The 998R engine power is up thanks to revised cams and induction ports, and the 120 brake horse being delivered in a torquey V-twin fashion is just as you'd expect. This of course is Aprilia's 60-degree V-twin as against Ducati's, Honda's and Suzuki's 90-degree layouts, but with balanced shafts front and rear it makes for a very smooth motor. The suspension is probably over-engineered for road use, but who cares? It looks the business and works beautifully. Troy Corsa, beware. So what else is new? Well, sitting up here, in fact, this looks very, very familiar. They've added a new piece of carbon fibre, like a little shelf above that standard instrument pod, which is the same as on the ordinary Aprilia, if you can call an RSV ordinary. Switches on, it really is very clever. It's got the old self-calibration thing in the middle. But over on the left side, you've got the speedometer, and then with all these buttons down here, you can do all sorts of wondrous things. It'll actually, if you press that one, record your maximum speed. Next one gives you an average speed when it comes down, there it is. This one here is a reset. Next one does a little calibration check. And the one on the right here changes all your displays on the right hand side. So not only have you got the time, you've got the battery voltage. This goes back to the time when you want to change the time, and at the top there you've got the temperature, and you can actually change that from centigrade to Fahrenheit. So pretty good altogether, so you can change the whole lot, all those settings, whatever you want to do with it. You can see from the top of the forks here, they're fully adjustable for preload and rebound damping. Down at the bottom you've got your compression damping of course, but it looks very pretty with this blue anodised finish. The seat height, by the way, where I'm perched at the moment, the seat's actually 825mm high, which is pretty high. You've got to be fairly long-legged if you want to touch the ground on this one. Coming around here, you can see the Olin's rear suspension tucked up under there. Again, fully adjustable for preload, compression and rebound damping. More anodised aluminium trick bits and pieces. You've got the standard, almost trademark Aprilia swinging arm, the banana-shaped swinging arm here. Massive construction, very, very rigid and doing the job. And you've also got on this one Aprilia's optional race exhaust system. It actually says on it for race use only, which I hadn't really noticed before. Perhaps I shouldn't have been riding it today, but there we go. What else have we got up here? No pillion footrests. I wonder why that is. Super sports bike, you see. No pillion perch either. That is removable, but under there is just a little space for your waterproofs and a toolkit, so no pillion passengers on this one. Coming down the bottom there, you've got these beautiful Oz wheels again, but that really sort of finishes it off as the business bike. Now getting back on the bike, it actually feels very light. It's 189 kilos, which is somewhat lighter than a Duke, which is around 200 kilos. So 10 out of 10 for them on that. But looking at it, it's far wider. See the bars, they feel a lot wider, and so does the tank. So it all feels bulky, but it's not really bulky once you're on the road. Down there also, when you're waddling the bars here, you can feel there's very little resistance. It's got an Öhlins damper, steering damper, tucked right down there. But to be quite honest, on the road, I don't reckon you need it. In fact, handling and road holding wise, it's a confidence-inspiring bike that belies its size. It behaves so well, it really does feel light and nimble. It seems to carry hardly any inertia into corners, and the steering so neutral and the suspension so forgiving that riding it is a dream. So that R business, what does it stand for? I'll give you a clue. Aprilia Racing. R always means racing, doesn't it? But I'll tell you what, with all these trick bits that absolutely litter this bike, I reckon they are right on the money. There's another R for you. And talking about money, how much does this one cost? £10,750 on the road. Now that's £2,000 more than an ordinary Aprilia, but look what you get. You get, I reckon, 3 grand's worth of Öhlins suspension, 1,500 quid's worth of Oz wheels, so I reckon that's a bit of a bargain. There's that R again.